well, all of us first, why do you think high blood pressure is such an epidemic that it is in the quote unquote African American community? Why is high blood pressure such an epidemic for us as a people?
Perfect question. And I think that's the best question because most of us deal with it. And now it's not just late 20s and 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds. I've seen now as low as 14-year-olds dealing with high blood pressure. And I personally believe through my own studies that it goes all the way back to slavery, dealing with PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? Or post-traumatic stress syndrome, however you want to label it. When you look at high blood pressure, right? We're dealing with what? We're dealing with the adrenal glands and we're dealing with the kidneys. The adrenal glands actually sits on top of the kidneys and it actually what activates the kidneys to properly filtrate. Well, when you look at the adrenal glands, again, it releases cortisol and adrenaline, and that's not necessarily bad, but anytime you overproduce stress in the body, you overproduce cortisol and adrenaline. So now, when we look at the state of the Black community, to your question, when you look at how we work, we have a hustle mentality, a grind mentality. A lot of us struggle with bills. A lot of us struggle in our relationships. A lot of us deal with epigenetics. We're dealing with inherited trauma and drama from our ancestors, even our very parents, that we don't even realize that we're dealing with.
Come on.
And then you add the comforting diet to it. Or I would like to say the sad diet, the American standard diet that we eat for comfort of our emotions, dealing with all this stress that causes more internal stress. This is where you start to see a high rise of high blood pressure, because every which way we turn from our job, working a 9 to 5, because it's very unnatural to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning. Simply because you have something called a biological clock, or we're going to call your circadian rhythm. And that circadian rhythm is literally based upon the rise and setting of the sun and the rising and setting of the moon. When you look at the circadian rhythm, it's based upon your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is actually what releases serotonin and melatonin. So based upon the rising of the sun is when your body starts to release this serotonin. That's what activates your body. That's what helps with your digestive system. That's what actually helps your body get active and more focused. And that starts to set or go down once the sun starts to set. Then you start to release something called melatonin. This is what keeps you mellow. This is what keeps you calm. This is what keeps you relaxed. And this is what helps you, your sleep patterns. Now imagine if you're getting up at 3 and 4 in the morning with loud noises. Imagine you getting up at 3 and 4 in the morning and the first thing you touching is your cell phone. So now you're tricking your body to think that it's sunlight, but it's nothing. Light. Imagine that you have to go through a traffic all day and hear this loud noises through the city. And then you have to get at work where you're not all the way woke up. You are constantly producing stress day in and day out. And then you start to listen to music. A lot of us, when we're sad, we want to get what? Chocolate. We want to get some good liquor, or we want to get some type of drink. And we listen to sad music that does not benefit or help the sadness that we're already in. So we're inducing more stress in the body. And then you're adding these synthetic proteins or these complex proteins and these complex starches that's now causing the organs to stress out. So you're not the body that naturally processes or go through its cyclical cycle every day. Therefore, now you're dealing with constipation, which also deals with high blood pressure.
I want to be clear on something you're saying. So when you say synthetic proteins, give us an example of what is a synthetic protein.
So a lot of people are now into these different type of protein shakes.
There you go.
Right? These protein shakes are full of complex or chemicalized proteins that's made in the lab. Or if I say complex proteins are dealing with the flesh. Why am I saying that? Because when you actually look at how the so-called black man and woman's body is made, and you look at the hydrochloric acid in our stomach, we sit at a 1.4. But when you actually look at the science behind meats and how much acid it takes to break down, our pH level is not low enough to break down the meats properly. So that means it has to stay in the body longer. And anytime it stays in the body longer, what does it start to do? It will start to decay. And not only will it start to decay, it will start to breed what? Parasites or worms. No different than if you leave a fruit out there long enough, over a while, it will start to produce what? Fruit flies. So something dies and it doesn't go through its natural processing of being removed, it starts to produce parasites. So now you add that synthetic protein, that complex protein, your body's not able to break it down. It causes your colon and your digestive system to be stagnant. So you got all that meat and that carbonic acid just sitting in the organs, not going nowhere, producing so much acid to the point it starts to shut down your lymphatic system. Therefore, it shuts down your lymph nodes, and your lymph nodes can't even properly process right by going to chew off all the metabolic waste that's sitting on top of your cells. So you're burning, you're sitting here dehydrated, and you're sitting here causing a chemical imbalance, or what we're going to call a hormone imbalance, never able to go through your processes properly. And all this is actually dealing with high blood pressure.